Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Luke Paula Show. It's been a crazy news week, and Shide couldn't be with us on this show, so it's just a solo episode. But there's a lot going on. We're going to continue to cover Nick Fuentes and how the entire Matrix has just went all the way against him, from Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Milo Yiannopoulos, etc. But now, interestingly enough, we have a conflict with Andrew Tate. And so this is very interesting because this is obviously, Andrew Tate is somebody that went viral back in 2021. That was the first time I heard about him, at least was in 2021. He went viral because he was basically perceived as a sexist or a misogynist and was spouting all of these pro-masculinity talking points. Blew up all over TikTok. Very, very interesting guy. Obviously, he's infamous today. We all know who Andrew Tate is. But he goes viral today on Twitter, on X, and he goes at, not Nick Fuentes, interestingly enough, but he goes at the Groyper movement. And what's very fascinating, I'm pulling up the tweet here, but it's very fascinating how he didn't go directly against Nick, but he kind of shat on the movement. Anyway, so I'm gonna play this for you now because I think you guys deserve to see exactly what I'm talking about right here. So here's the tweet from Andrew Tate. This was 10 hours ago today. Here we go. Quote, "Nobody can stop you from being a winner. Groypers speak like a conquered people." Interesting. "Tough love is to ignore their influence and fight back. Stop crying nonstop. You can't win without grass-level self-control and strength." So then, interestingly enough, Nick Fuentes comments. He goes, "You too, huh?" Implying that he's like the latest right-wing commentator to completely go against him. So Andrew goes, "Not at all, friend. I'm a huge fan of your message, but there's a thin line between highlighting a problem and removing accountability from the rebellion. I actually believe you make it a clear personal excellence is the weapon. This is lost on some of your fans. Nobody can beat a man who refuses to lose." And then somebody's pulling up this tweet right here from Andrew Tate. "There is a Jew alive who can stop me from being a winner." So what do you guys think about this? This is very interesting. And interestingly enough, I was watching Nick's stream last night, and he was talking about specifically how Andrew Tate really hasn't said anything in opposition or support of him. And I mean, you kind of knew that something like this, you were eventually going to get acknowledgement from Andrew Tate, okay? But why am I bringing this up? Why is this happening? Well, this was yesterday. Andrew Tate released a video, and he called out people specifically that blame everything on the Jews. And I'll play that clip for you here. Here we go.
And you can sit here, you can blame the system, blame the banks, blame the...
So, okay. But folks, listen to what he said. He's basically calling out not the Groyper movement itself, but just weak men that are involved in the Groyper movement. But it should be noted, Andrew Tate does have an interesting background. His dad was confirmed to be CIA, and this is something that was talked about by Tate himself. And I'm going to play another video for you, oddly enough, where he actually does admit that his dad was in the CIA.
Your dad was a spy?
My father worked for the CIA. He was a linguist.
What's that?
A linguist. He spoke 5 languages.
You see?
Yeah. And so my father was a native English speaker. He only spoke English. And then they took him into the Air Force. When you join the Air Force, you do a test. He did fantastically in the IQ test. He's top 1 percentile. So they moved him over to a specialized division to learn languages. And he learned Russian, German, Spanish, a bunch of languages.
Did you learn anything about that? Like, did he ever talk to you about it?
He told me that every single thing that you're watching on the news is a lie. He told me that they keep us in the dark. He told me to resist the slave mind. He told me that when you watch the news, your only goal should be to understand what they want you to believe, not to believe it. And he made it very clear to me the Matrix existed even way back then.
Well, isn't that interesting? So all of these people who are supposedly CIA, supposedly feds, Nick has talked about this, Milo Yiannopoulos, Tucker having all of these CIA backgrounds, right? He exposed that last Friday. We're not even going to get into that. But Candace Owens, him basically calling her a useful idiot. And now Andrew Tate is growing after the Groyper movement, but yet is avoiding direct conflict with Nick Fuentes because he doesn't want to get exposed, because he knows his dad is also part of that. Now, interestingly enough, Tristan Tate, or Tristan Tate, however you, I don't know, however you say his name, he also went in on this, and it's quite interesting. But instead of that, talking about the Groyper movement in general, people brought up a tweet from a couple months ago, and I'll put that up for you here as well. It says right here, "I am sorry for American white nationalists who think they can claim, quote, America is a white country in the same way European nations can. I know you want to, but you can't. If you want an ethno-state, move back to Europe where your ancestors came from and become politicians here." Interesting. And obviously there are people that think America should be a majority white country. And so this is something that Tristan doesn't think is possible. And obviously the Groypers are a movement. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them think that America should be a majority white country. It's just part of the movement, right? It's just one of the beliefs. But let's talk about this, okay? Because this is very interesting. We know Andrew Tate has a shady background, a shady rise to power, right? He has all of those cam girls that made him money, and that's how he amassed his fortune. Obviously, he's a world champion kickboxer. That is real. But it's funny how all of these people with questionable pasts, right? You have the Tucker Carlsons, you have the Candace Owens, who I guess she applied to be a porn star, be a porn actress. This was the rumor going around online. You have Milo Yiannopoulos, who is not only an informant, which Nick clearly exposed, but he is also quite literally a gay fed, the guy that everybody accuses Nick of being. And you start to see where these attacks come from. And more rational people are starting to say, hey, this guy Nick Fuentes, like, I might not agree with all his points, but this guy's onto something. And it's so crazy seeing how all of these people, maybe Andrew Tate too, I mean, I don't know, he didn't come directly after Nick, but he came after his movement. So we'll see how Nick responds to that on tonight's stream. But it's quite interesting to see all of these people coming for Nick Fuentes. And so I just wanted to lead off the show with that, because my gosh, it's mind-boggling truly that all these people are coming from this guy who a couple months ago was banned off of quite literally everything. I mean, was basically the boogeyman. Nobody in conservative media, nobody in right-wing media would say this guy's name. And now, I mean, look at him. He's literally everywhere. They just announced today that Myron Gaines, I believe Sneeko, and Nick are going to do a stream together, which is crazy. On Thursday, we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, man, it's really crazy to see all these people level these attacks against this guy, this 26-year-old from Chicago. Obviously, he's a threat. Obviously, this movement that he's leading is a part of. I would like to say I have a lot of agreements with, for sure. This guy is like, this movement is a threat. It's a real thing to completely break the matrix. And I know Tate's been talking about this too. So maybe they have the similar goals, and he's not going to completely go after Nick. He's going after the movement. And to go after the whole entire Groyper movement, just like Jordan Peterson, I don't think is very wise. Yes, you're going to have weak people in every single movement, right? That's just par for the course. Republican, Democrat, far right, far left. Any occupation, cops, teachers, lawyers, doctors, you're going to have weak-minded people in any profession, most likely. And so I think it's very disingenuous to diss a few Groypers when overall the movement is doing so much good. I really don't think that's a good thing. But nevertheless, his father is in CIA, so the internet people are going to do sleuthing, and they're going to look around and see what can be told. But like literally from the horse's mouth, he said his dad was in the CIA. And we all know the CIA and the feds are trying to go after this movement and go after Nick. And so to transition, speaking of a fed, this actually came up recently. And this is a video of Tucker Carlson back a couple years ago talking about how just because he's white, he doesn't feel the need to identify with other white people. And this is obviously a precursor for his standoff with Nick Fuentes. And I think it's really showing how like he's not in touch with the people. We'll play this video and I'll explain what I mean in a second.
we passed that. Right.
I hate that laugh, man. I really, really hate that laugh. Sorry.
I will say this, if I can just make one prediction. So the United States is becoming non-white. Everyone's excited about it. Or whether you're not excited about it, it doesn't matter. Whites are going to be in the minority. So what that means soon. So what that means is you're going to get at some point, probably in my lifetime, people standing up and saying, I represent white people. I'm the candidate of the white voter.
Right.
And I just want to say on the record that I'm going to tell that person to fuck off. Because nobody speaks. I'm an adult man, and nobody speaks for me because he shares the same skin color as me. Like, I just reject that entire idea. If I agree with you, I'll let you speak for me. And if I don't, I won't. But this idea that someone of a certain skin color, any skin color, or any ethnic background speaks automatically on behalf of all people who share that skin color, ethnic background, is a Nazi idea, and I'm totally opposed to it. And I will be opposed to it when it happens to me. When and this will happen. Someone's going to, white people. And I'm going to be like, I don't even know you, dude. I don't even know you. I refuse to allow you to purport to speak for me because we look the same, period.
Right there. And so that was a precursor to the whole standoff with Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson said, I refuse to allow you to speak for me just because we have the same skin color, referring to him being white. And I just think it's funny because every single race other than white people are allowed to identify with each other, and one person speaks for the entire group. You have this with black people, you have this with Hispanics, you have this with Asian Americans, you have this with literally any other ethnicity or race. Jews. They all speak for one another, and for the most part, everybody in that tribe, everybody in that racial group agrees. And white people have been villainized for the past however many years. You can go all the way back to the Civil Rights era. You could go back 20 years. It doesn't matter. They've been vilified. It's not a secret. It's a fact. And so when you have this guy, Tucker Carlson, that says, hey, I don't want to identify with the plight of white people, or if there's somebody that's white and says, hey, we have the same issues because we have the same skin color, he's saying, no, that's not true. Of course, because he's out of touch. This guy is truly one of the elites in our society in terms of mainstream political commentators or even political commentators. He tries to identify with the common man, and yet he has millions and millions of dollars. He's a net worth of like $300 million. Has all of these questionable connections to the CIA, right? We've already litigated that. We're not going to relitigate that now. But this idea that, this is a Nazi idea for races to identify with each other. It's like, no, that's not the case. Black people always talk about this. The whole black community talking about how, whether they're true or not, the issues with policing, they all identify with that for the most part. They all feel, for the most part, a unique way about it. But not to get in like woke, when you have immigrants, for example, Mexican immigrants, they all feel a certain way about immigration. They don't like illegal immigrants coming here for the most part because it's ruining the perception of them. It's diminishing their hard work and their achievement in getting over here legally. And when you have stuff like that, obviously black people at large, for the most part, you always have outliers. They feel a way about slavery. It's quite honest. It's quite real. You can see that. And this idea that just because you're the same race, like you don't have the same outlook on life, at least a little bit, it's very disingenuous. And it shows Tucker Carlson for who he really is. Nick Fuentes talks about it, and others have talked about it. This guy's not real. This guy's not like you and me. This guy's not sharing the plight of white people because he's out of touch. And so I really don't think that he is somebody to be trusted. The whole conflict with Nick kind of derailed that for the most part, for me at least. Some people are calling him a race traitor. I just don't think that this is a Nazi idea. There's other Asian Americans, for example. Their allegiance to their home country, right? Mostly Chinese nationals. You could talk about that. But these people are going to put their country first at times, right? We don't even have to get into the whole Jewish question, but like Jews for the most part are going to put Israel first, specifically because of their ethnicity. We can have a problem with that or not. It is what it is. Russians, they come over here. They're probably going to think that their country, for the most part, is more close to their heart than America, especially now. I don't think this is a stupid topic. I don't think this is a dumb topic, especially going back to the whole Jewish thing in the Jews' homeland and in their affinity to Israel. rightfully so. They were a persecuted people. They feel a way about their country because of their race. The majority of them feel this way. And so for Tucker to say this is a Nazi idea, I think it's really disingenuous, and it's quite dumb. Of course, if you're a race, you're going to most likely feel the same way about an issue because of your shared experience, because of how the world sees you and how you see the world. Once again, you have outliers, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, you have races that all do the same thing. It just never made any sense to me. Does that make sense? Is this dumb? I don't think this is a dumb argument. I don't think this is a dumb counter-argument to that video. Maybe I went a little bit out of there with the Chinese national and Russian national shit, but for the most part, you have certain racial groups that feel the same about a bunch of different topics. And once again, yes, there's going to be outliers, but I don't think that's a Nazi idea. I just don't. I just thought that was really dumb. Very dumb. Candace Owens is back in the news to transition. So, do you guys remember when Candace Owens said she was going to be in a lawsuit against Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron for alleging that, I can't believe I'm talking about this, the president of France's wife is actually a man, and then she recently said the president of France's wife is actually not only a man, but Brigitte Macron's also Emmanuel Macron's dad. And so in the beginning, she was so excited, right? She was on the prowl. She said, I can't wait for this discovery, right? She was ready. She wanted to fight. She was dumb. Because it turns out that, and I'm going to play this video for you, it turns out that Candace Owens was not only dumb, she not only went into this with, I don't even know what prompted her to go into this whole thing, but now she's run out of money, and she's asking others for money. Just watch this video.
And this lawsuit, we got an estimate this weekend from a legal team. It is going to cost us millions. I don't have that money. I really don't. I got to tell you, like, the estimate that we got, and I want to be clear, this is if it goes all the way through. So they said, like, from start to finish, if they don't drop this at some point, blah, 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 here's how much it's going to cost you just to get through the deposition phase, here's how much it's going to cost you to go all the way through. And they are estimating $5 million. It's like a lot of money. And we do not have that money just laying around.
Look at this. Okay, so Candace Owens said, oh yeah, we don't have this money laying around. Look at her real estate portfolio, gang. Look at that. What's this? Come on. Look at all this. Look at all these nice houses. Malibu Estate, Colorado Farm. She has a farm. Nashville home. Austin mansion. Stanford home. Miami commercial property. Nebraska farmland. 90 acres of Nebraska farmland. Look at all of this, man. Look at all of this money. You don't have $5 million? We already saw her net worth. Let's continue. Ooh, look at that. Here you have her husband's real estate portfolio. Look at all of that. What? You don't have $5 million?
So I thought we could actually sell some T-shirts. I just picture people wearing this.
You could sell some T-shirts to pay for a legal battle in which you are not going to win, and you did not provide any substantial facts that Emmanuel Macron's wife is a man, but you continue to allege this, so rightfully so, Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron are going to go after you for defamation. This is how it is. And so now you're asking the fans for more money to pay for your legal battle that you're losing because you're stupid. And this is one of the leading right-wing voices in America. Definitely not destroying the right's credibility at all. But, yeah. This is what happens when you have girl bosses that try and take your movement and try to lead your movement. This girl is not it. This woman is not it.
Like at the grocery store, like walking by each other, and like we know what it means, like hashtag free Emmanuel. It's like subtle enough. I really like this, free Emmanuel. You're gonna see somebody wearing a t-shirt and be like, we know what's up. We know what's going on in France. Somebody rescue.
There was not one credible piece of information that said Emmanuel Macron's wife was a man. Not one in that whole documentary that I wasted my time watching. Not one. and like you're literally begging your fans for money. It's clear that this is going to be long and you're going to lose. She's telling you she's going to lose. It's going to be long. What are we doing? Why can't you be useful and be a political commentator instead of getting yourself involved in drama and creating more headaches for yourself? You, Candace Owens, are discrediting the right-wing movement in America. Nobody's going to follow you. You are a joke. You are an absolute joke. This is absolutely crazy. Somebody else made a fan edit, and I'm going to play this for you guys as well. I thought it was funny. Maybe you guys won't think it's funny, but I happen to think it was hilarious. So here's the video.
No, get away from me. This is my money.
So that's all. But what a joke she is, man. It's been clear for a long time, even before Nick started to talk about her and exposed her for who she truly is. And then he went on her show and she just completely tried to bait him and have this hit piece for him. But it's just so obvious that this woman's not intelligent. For the past 6 months, I'd say, I've been just focusing on her a little bit, watching her from a distance. And instead of covering really important political issues like Israel and how they are committing genocide and like they're killing lots of people and our government is fully complicit in it and all of that like she was doing, now she's going to celebrity gossip. Now she's going to Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron. Once again saying that the president of France's wife is not only a guy, but it's also his dad. And she's talking about this Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni bullshit. Who gives a flying fuck? I want to hear you cover politics. I don't want to hear you cover Hollywood celebrity drama. That's for the tabloids. That's for TMZ. You want to go do that shit work for TMZ. You are supposed to be a political commentator. That means political. You're covering shit that I used to see in the tabloids at the grocery store with my mom. You're walking through the checkout aisle, right, and you see those tabloids. Oh, is Caitlyn Jenner a man? Or Bruce Jenner a man? Or, damn it, Bruce Jenner a woman? Ended up transitioning to a woman. That's the one time they were right. But just talking about how, I don't know, random shit. Leonardo DiCaprio, they would have Jay-Z. They would just random stories about LeBron James, whatever. BS, bullshit stories. Fluff, garbage, junk food. That is what Candace Owens is, or what she's become. It's funny, Nick, not to reference Nick Fuentes again, but he talks about how, she can't read and like making jokes, but like, I don't understand why, and maybe it is because she has this like girl boss mentality. I don't consider her to be somebody that's very intelligent, like an Anna Kasparian, comparing her to like other female commentators in politics. Like an Anna Kasparian who is so intelligent, so well-versed, so well-spoken. To even a Megyn Kelly, who sometimes does get into the girl boss drama, and she is like a female girl boss herself. But at least she's very intelligent and articulate in how she explains things and stuff like that. But what Candace is doing just discredits herself, and it discredits the whole movement and everything that she's built. And she had a really good opportunity. She was doing really good after she left the Daily Wire. But I don't like the covering of all this drama and all this junk food shit. You're a political commentator. Stick to politics. But she can't get out of her own way, apparently. And so it's interesting. I truly don't get it. I'm not a fan. But, I don't know. We have another topic today. We're going to go to sports. Now, I don't usually cover sports because I consider them to be quite boring. And on top of that, I think that modern professional sports today are pretty gay. And the reason is that they force you to sit down in front of a TV anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 hours. And you sit and you watch a slop, and they get you to see all of these commercials, and they try to get you to buy things, and they make you focus on pointless shit that has nothing to do with you. They want you to buy their tickets. They want you to buy their merchandise. They want you to buy their streaming so you can watch their games. And while they are the government right now and the people at large that are really controlling this country and controlling the way that the world is right now, they're harming you. And by getting you to watch professional sports, they're keeping you distracted from what's actually going on. But I do have to cover this because sometimes people do just want to get away from politics. They want to get away from the real world. And so the Minnesota Vikings went viral today. Why they go viral? Why am I covering it? Well, the Minnesota Vikings recently allowed 2 men to become cheerleaders for what used to be their all-female cheerleading squad. And it happened to break the internet. So I'm going to play this for you, and then I have some words. Here we go. Burn him at the stake. Burn him at the stake. I'm done. Burn him at the stake. Why? Who made this decision? Again, not a sports fan really anymore. I understand what it is. But if people are coming to these games, if they're trying to support this team, and they're just trying to turn their brain off, 3 to 3.5 hours, they just want to turn their brain off. Why are you going to enforce all of these like culture war battles into sports? You see, I never got that. I never understood why they had to put all the BLM messaging in the NBA during 2020, 2021. I never got that. People would just want to be away from it. However, I do understand that majority of the NBA is black, but like they have to consider their viewership and who buys the tickets. It's not just black people. It's everybody else. Nobody wants to be preached to, and nobody wants to have all of this shit affect their entertainment. At the end of the day, this is just entertainment to dumb you down. This is going to continue to piss people off and cause people to turn off the TV. And so I just don't get why the people in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings owners, I just don't understand why they hired a male as their lead cheerleader, and they have another male in the cheerleading squad as well. I just don't get that. Why? What's the purpose? Even if you're straight, this is a hot topic. Even if you're straight, I don't care if this is really unpopular opinion. I just don't respect you, even if you're straight. If you're a cheerleader, I lose respect for you. And I know a couple of men that either were cheerleaders in the past or are cheerleaders right now. Handful happen to be straight. I don't respect you. You should be doing something else. It just doesn't make sense. Go be something else. They don't fit. They don't fit at all. The culture is becoming very right-wing now. You would think that these people would be able to see the turning tides. But it's just like, what are we doing truthfully? Why? They don't fit in. And you're telling me, are these guys going to have their own locker rooms, or are they going to have to change with the girls? That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother thing that I don't care to litigate. I don't care to go over. But it's just like, why? You know? Just let things be. It's okay. You can let it be. You don't have to infringe. You don't have to go against the grain here, like literally everything else of the past 10 years. Let it be. That's all. Obviously, don't actually burn them at the stake. It was a joke. But like, really? Do we really have to do that? I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Oh, this is fun. This is juicy. Who wants to talk about the ADL? Who wants to talk about the ADL?
Person, and then
Who wants to talk about the ADL? I do. We've talked about the ADL CEO on here before. His name's Jonathan Greenblatt. And Jonathan Greenblatt is not only very Jewish, but he's a very Jewish supporter of Israel. And he said something about Christianity over the weekend that a lot of people had raised eyebrows about. Now, you have to understand that the ADL is a very bad organization, in my view, a very problematic organization. Starts a lot of issues, causes a lot of problems in our country. And so listen to what the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League CEO, Jonathan Greenblatt, said about Christianity and how it contributes to anti-Semitism. Please listen.
anti-Semitism is a bit of like a virus. And like some viruses, it exists in the kind of body politic and it's dormant, like chickenpox. Mm-hmm. You get chickenpox as a young person, and then after the kind of inflammation subsides, it's still in you. And it can manifest again when you're older because of stress or age as shingles. although you can get inoculated and you can prevent that from happening. So I think anti-Semitism is similar. It's like this contagion. It's as old as time, right? We face it for thousands of years. First it was, after the death of Christ, there were these accusations that the Jews killed Christ and that the Jews weren't a real religion because we didn't accept Christ and then we didn't accept Muhammad. So you have this, the Jewish religion is...
Jonathan, those weren't accusations. They did kill Christ. Continuing.
Legitimate, and that was the basis for the Crusades, which is at Tish B'Av, which, remembers the expulsion. We had inquisitions. We had all these horrible things. And then, after the Age of Reason, it was, maybe, and they realized that the sun doesn't revolve around the earth and the earth isn't flat. Then it was, maybe Judaism is okay as a religion, but it's the Jewish race that isn't legitimate. And then we saw kind of anti-Semitism metastasize into this kind of race-based form of hate, which of course exploded with the Shoah. And then after the tragedy of that, the injustice of that was exposed, people that said, it's not that their religion is illegitimate or their race is illegitimate. Now it's the Jewish state that's illegitimate. And we see that now in the form of anti-Zionism, which is anti-Semitism.
Okay, so much is wrong with that. First off, yes, the Jewish state is pretty much illegitimate because last time I checked, they've only been a state technically for the past 77, 78 years. Before that, it was Palestine, and Palestinians had that land. We can go all the way back. We're not going to do it. But the fact of the matter is these people had land at one point, and then it was taken away from them. And now what the country of Israel has done, we all know, killed anywhere from, I've seen 80,000 people dead in Gaza. I've seen 110,000 people dead in Gaza. Women, men, children, Jewish people, Muslims, Catholics, Christians. It's just what it is. And we see all the time throughout our timeline, this country, Israel, which is a Jewish ethno-state, which, by the way, do you know they are not letting Israelis interracially interracial marry in Israel? Did you know that? I don't think you did. Now you do. They have free health care as well. Who do you think pays for it? You should look it up. But the point is, there's a lot of reasons that people hate Israel that has nothing to do with their Jewishness. But by all of these powerful people in our country that happen to be Jewish, supporting this and supporting our country and our government being complicit in genocide, because it's what it is, you start to have people that they happen to look into. Hey, what's going on with this group of people? Why are they supporting this country that is doing all of these bad things? You have a country like Israel that got licensed from this country, this company called Palantir. Who runs Palantir? Peter Thiel. What does Palantir do? They provide facial recognition to ID Palestinians and be able to drone strike them. This is what we're dealing with. So Jonathan Greenblatt says Christianity is the origin of anti-Semitism. That's a wild claim, considering that, once again, this group of people did kill Christ. The Pharisees were Jewish. That's how it was. That's what it is. You watch The Passion of the Christ, you see how there's these people conspiring in the shadows of the Roman government, of the Roman Empire, planning all of this. And then that's what happened. It has nothing to do with the Jewish people now. Nothing to do with the Jewish people now. But nevertheless, there are a lot of people who happen to be Jewish that do happen to support Israel. Like, this is a real thing. Nobody does this for any other thing. Have you noticed that? If you're racist towards white people, black people, Hispanics, Asians, nobody gives a shit about that. Nobody polices that. But the minute somebody says anti-Semitism, that's the problem. Isn't that weird? All of a sudden, for my entire life, the left has tried to cancel you over being quote-unquote racist. It's not like this anymore, but it used to be, right? And all of these people in the right wing, people like Ben Shapiro, people like Jonathan Greenblatt, I would assume, who I believe is on the right, don't quote me, You have people like Charlie Kirk. You have all of these people who are Zionists, but they fought for the past 10 years, it feels like. The whole cancel culture revolution bullshit, right? They fought it, but they fought it from the right. And they fought people on the left, people who were minorities, calling white people racist, right? They fought that, and they won. But the problem is the Zionists, the Jewish Zionists, were cosplaying as white people. But the minute their Jewishness was a threat, or perceived to be a threat, all of a sudden, they took that cancel culture and they flipped it. This is why people don't respect Ben Shapiro anymore. This is why Charlie Kirk is getting callers that are Groypers, that are confronting him, saying, when are you going to acknowledge Nick Fuentes? When are you going to debate Nick Fuentes? When are you going to stop shilling for Israel? Because he's calling for anti-Semitism laws. He's calling for censorship against people that are critical of Israel. Like, this is real. He observes the Sabbath, the Jewish Sabbath, on Saturday. This is a guy that claims to be a Protestant Christian, a very faithful Protestant Christian. And it's like, what? What? And so when you see people like this, there is a reason that there's growing anti-Semitism in this country, really anti-Semitism, but there's a lot of people that are starting to really question, hey, what's up with Israel? People in my generation, Gen Z on the right and the left, which is crazy because you guys have been trying to divide us on political basis for the past 10 years since I feel like we've all been paying attention to politics. And the one thing that we're united on in this country, Gen Z, millennials, Gen Alpha, and the rest are going to fall, right? Rest of the chips are going to fall, is that Israel is up to no good. And we have to get all of these people in Congress that serve Israel before America out of Congress. All these politicians are selling out to this foreign country, and we all want to know why. This is the reason that people are becoming more suspicious of Israel, and rightfully so. And if you continue to say, hey, what you're saying, your questions are bad, we're going to ban you, people are going to continue to ask questions, especially in America, especially in this country, and I don't think you're ready. We should just stop the support for Israel now. Our country should completely decouple from Israel. And then you might see some change here. But the minute you try and shut down discourse, you try and shut down any rigorous debate, well then, yeah, you're going to get more people digging for the truth and asking questions. And then pretty soon they say, hey, that guy in World War II, what was that all about? And you're seeing it play out on the internet. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not justifying it, but I'm just saying, like, this is continuing to happen and this is continuing to play out. And you can't be mad at people. You can't be mad at Christians. You can't be mad at Americans on the right and the left, which is, again, crazy, who see this country and they say, hey, I don't support this. And when you keep saying, no, that's anti-Semitic, you're going to make them, once again, question things. They're going to go down the rabbit hole. They're going to research things like, I don't know, the U.S. has liberty. They're going to research, why do all these people go pray at the Wailing Wall? Why do all these people get these donations from AIPAC to their political campaign? Oh, this country controls all our politicians. Do you think they're going to participate in this system after that? Truthfully. It's crazy. So he can say all he wants about how Christianity is the origin for anti-Semitism. No, first off, because the Jews were being persecuted far before the death of Christ, the crucifixion of Jesus. Let's not say that. But, I mean, let's also not play around with those accusations like there's truth to that. So this guy, man, it's just, not a fan. Not a fan. And he's wrong. So that's that. But it is absolutely crazy how these people have taken the stance so quickly. It's mind-boggling. I have a couple more topics that I might want to talk about. I might not want to talk about. We shall see. But a lot's been going on. And I wanted to go back to this because so many people are sticking up for this man. So Carroll recently had his latest podcast episode that dropped. And a lot of people, including myself, have been wondering, where is he going to side on this Nick Fuentes feud, right? I believe Ian Carroll to be somebody very valuable to political discourse. I know he's not really on the right or the left. People identify him more on the right these days, but he's really in the middle. He does a lot, right? He talks about conspiracies. He talks about who runs our food, Big Pharma. He talks about that, all this stuff. But he weighed on the Nick Fuentes feud, the feud with Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. And, man, I really think this was valuable, truthfully. I think it was a valuable piece of information. And he weighs in on it, and I'm just going to play the video for you, so here we go.
Honestly, I used to fall more on Tucker's side of this debate than on Nick's. I used to share Tucker's perspective that Nick was rash and toxic and went about talking about these things in ways that were too extreme and too racial and would delegitimize the conversation. And there is an argument to be made that Nick has changed his tune over the last year or two as he has grown up and gotten more skilled and more mature and maybe just changed his strategy a little bit. Nick certainly did used to be more rebellious and flippant and dismissive and just, young. And that's fine. Nick actually talked about that in this live stream. But as the genocide in Gaza has gone on over the last 2 years, and we've seen the Israeli faction's mask come off more and more, it's become more and more obvious how right Nick is in a lot of ways. Not all Jewish people support Israel, but all Jewish people who support Israel support it because they are Jewish.
Wow. I never thought I would hear Ian Carroll say that in 2025. And it goes to show you, man, Nick Fuentes, I'm going to keep speaking this guy's praises. I'm sorry that if you think this is annoying, I'm covering it too much. I simply don't care. I cover the things that are interesting. And this phenomenon is so interesting to me. It is so fascinating to watch this political movement, the Groyper movement, who I identify with a lot of the ideas. I don't know if I consider myself a Groyper, potentially. But to hear Ian Carroll say the things that Nick Fuentes has been saying. I started watching Nick's live streams in March. Started to get really red-pilled around December of this past year. And started to see his shorts, all of that. Started watching his 5, 6, 7-minute clips on X. And then one day I thought, all right, let's do it. So I looked up where to find it, went on Rumble, boom, watched a live stream. I got hooked. This guy Nick Fuentes is the best political commentator of our generation, and he's probably the best one right now currently. Nobody provides in-depth analysis of all of these different political events, war in Iran specifically. The best political coverage I saw across all the different platforms, all the different shows. He was spot on. He knows everything. He is so knowledgeable, so intelligent, so fascinating to listen to. He's very entertaining as well. His monologues are spot on. But hearing Ian Carroll report or repeat a Nick Fuentes talking point, and it's rightfully so. I mean, we have to question everything. It's not hateful to say that, what he said. And that's what Nick said. His movement, the Groyper movement, is not a hateful movement. Not a violent movement. But it's fascinating. And it's true. We should question this. We should question why so many American Jewish people, just say it out loud, have Israel ahead of America. You listen to Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro says the reason he supports America is because America supports Israel. Ben Shapiro is Israel first, not America first. And again, it's not the majority of Jewish people. I believe most Jewish people to be good people. I know Jewish people in my life. I have Jewish clients. They're good people. This is not to attack Jewish people just as they are. But there is something about these prominent media figures who happen to be Jewish that have an allegiance to Israel over America. This is real, and this is problematic. Because when you have people like Ben Shapiro, once again, that say Palestinians are dogs and they're subhuman and they all deserve to be, for lack of a better term, subdued to all this violence, it's not right. I mean, it is a genocide. This is something that's publicly known. a bunch of different governments and a bunch of different countries have recognized Palestine as a state and said, like, this is not right. What you're doing is not right. And so to hear these talking points once again from somebody other than Nick Fuentes, somebody Ian Carroll, who is a rising star in the political commentary space, it's refreshing. And we're going to see more of it. More people are waking up. More people are getting red-pilled. And more importantly, we're all seeing what's happening in Gaza. Not to go back to that point, but like we're literally seeing on our timeline. This isn't 20 years ago where we're seeing the war in Iraq, and we're not seeing the war in Iraq, rather. And we're not seeing all the catastrophe that's being caused and all the damage that's being done. And our government is complicit in it. That's what's so infuriating. And so hopefully, somehow it can all be put to an end. But people are going to continue to speak up, man. And so you can say what you want. You can say it's anti-Semitic, but like this is not going away. More and more people are waking up, including American Jews are waking up saying like, hey, what Israel's doing is not right. And you're seeing more and more of this. You're seeing rabbis on the streets that are protesting this, saying, hey, this isn't right. And they're right. That's it. Well, yeah, that's all. It's obviously been an absolute pleasure. Shad wanted to be here, but circumstances with him allowed him not to be here, so it's a solo episode. But man, just want to thank you guys for all the support. Obviously, give the video a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate your support here. I'm trying to make very informative and entertaining content at the same time, and just very grateful for all the support. Nothing else to say really, but we'll see you next time.